Hey, I'm Zenith Sage Plays. Welcome to Inside the Tiger Truck. This is the most ridiculous build I have ever done. I really enjoyed building it, and I really hope you guys enjoy watching it. So we are back in the Moonlight world for this video. This zoo, as you know, is based on the Singapore Night Safari, which I think I've described as the only nocturnal zoo in the world. Well, it turns out there's another one in Bali called the Bali Night Safari. Really original name there. And from what I've seen of it, they pay less attention to health and safety than they do in the Singapore Night Safari, because this is absolutely crazy. This is based on a real experience that you can do in the Bali Night Safari, where basically they load you into the back of a truck in a big cage, drive you into a tiger habitat, and then feed the tigers, and the tigers are jumping all over the truck. I thought that would be a really cool thing to do in Planet Zoo. Problem is, of course, we don't have any trucks, and we don't really have any way of getting guests inside the habitat, so it's taken a long time to build this. But what I'm going to do is firstly get a little path suspended in midair behind this Jeep that you can see here, and we're going to get some guests onto it, and then we're going to build the truck that the guests are going to stand in. This is not really my forte, building mechanical objects or things that aren't in the game out of tiny little pieces, but I wanted to give it a go, and I'm pretty pleased with the final result. So yeah, let's talk about the build. So the key thing to achieve here really is to make sure that this piece of path, which is just floating in midair, is completely covered up, so that you can't see that the guests are standing on a path. It looks like they're standing in a truck, and they also need to cover up the little bit of path underneath it, so that you can't see it sort of joined onto the ground with the big lump of concrete that automatically comes in underneath it. So going to build the truck bed around it using loads of mesh, and we're going to use a lot of the Twilight pack pieces. I think that pack is possibly the most underrated pack in Planet Zoo, presumably because it was full of animals that you can see in your backyard in America. It did not go down well in the US, but I was really happy to get raccoons. The main thing I like about it is the building pieces. There are some building pieces in the Twilight pack which I pretty much use in almost every build now. I probably used them in the first build in this zoo because it was all shiny and new, but since then I've found myself just using them in pretty much every build, like I say, because they are so good. And one of the best pieces is the, I think it's called the portcullis metal strip or something along those lines, but it's a really long thin piece of metal. It comes in 3 different sizes. It's got a beautiful texture on both sides, which is different on both sides, and it's flexi color. And when it comes to building in Planet Zoo, thin metal, 3 different sizes, flexi color, that is pretty much everything you want. So we're going to bring that piece in a minute, and I'm going to use it for loads of different things in this build. Firstly, I'm just going to get some of the conservation pack pieces in to do a bit of detailing under the truck bed, just to try and make it look a bit more like an actual vehicle. They don't need to represent any sort of specific piece. Just anything like this thrown under it is going to make it look more real and more like a real vehicle, like I say. So we use a few different pieces, anything that looks like it might work for that kind of thing. And you can see the little bit of concrete under the path that I was talking about. So I'm going to use these to cover that up. And again, it just looks like the underside of the truck. It's going to look way better when this is all in here. So loads of these. These are a really versatile piece. I think I use these for trays in a restaurant in Tecton Zoo. And this is the portcullis piece that I was talking about. It is so good. I'm going to use this to turn the little open top Jeep, which is not a type of Jeep you want to drive into a tiger habitat, into a Jeep with a roof and sides. And we'll put some mesh on it as well, and just build this up so it looks like a proper sort of 4x4 with no way for the tigers to get in and eat the driver, which is always useful. And I mentioned about the different sizes of the piece as well, and the fact that it's got 2 different textures just lets you do stuff like this. Once this is finished up, we've got some decals and stuff on it. It looks really good. I'm really pleased with it. Happy Christmas, by the way. It is the 20th of December as I record this, so this should be out on the 21st. I'm going to try and make a little Christmas video to come out on Christmas Eve, where we're going to look at some of the environments that we built in Planet Wild that would be suitable for snow. I've just been going through all the different environments that we've created in that series, And there's a couple in there where I don't think I actually used any snow in the videos. I don't think I've ever seen them in the snow myself, but they would be absolutely perfect for a Christmassy kind of video. We've got the Land of the Leopard in the border of where Russia meets China. And then we've got the Twilight Forest as well in North America. I think those are going to look really nice in the snow. So I'm going to try and get into there and film some footage in there for a little Christmas Eve video. We'll just have to see if I have time to do that or not. What I'm doing here is building up the floor. So I want the floor in the center to be at the exact level of the path, or well, one pixel above the path, I guess, so that the guests' feet are in the right place and they're not sinking into the ground. And then I'll cover up the edges of the path with the wood that you can see there. Then we'll put in a exhaust for the trailer. I'm not sure if the trailer would have its own exhaust, really. Don't know if it'd need an engine, but I like the look of it and I like the smoke that you can get to come out of it, so I thought I'd do that. And then we'll do some more detailing on the Jeep itself, get some stuff up on the roof, and we'll get a decal, or a sign rather, on the side. One of the Australia pack signs, which are really good because the background of the sign is flexi-colour, so we can match this up exactly, there we go, with the colour of the Jeep. And then inside I'm just replicating exactly what I saw on the Bali night safari. So there were some bars here, presumably to stop the guests from going right up to the cage and having their fingers bitten off. And there's also some hooks hanging down from the ceiling, like you get on a subway, which I'll put in a minute. And then we've got these flags as well. I never used these flags up until I built the snow leopard habitat in Tecton Zoo, because there's a zebra flag and a leopard flag. I didn't realise they were flexi-colour. So they're actually really versatile because, as you can see, the zebra flag can become a tiger flag with a change of colour. The leopard flag can double as a snow leopard flag. I guess you could do a jaguar as well, sort of. There's more things that you can do with them than you think, so I thought I'd get those in as well, just to try and make this look a bit more attractive. And then we're going to make it twice as long. I was sort of umming and ahhing over how big to make this, but the one I was looking at was about twice as long as what I started with, so I decided to just double it, make it look a bit less like a box. And there's that Twilight Pack piece again, to get some more detail and texture onto the steps down from the back of the van. We're going to get some meat in a tray here, or as close to meat as you can get when you're using a flexi-colour pumpkin. I think this looks alright once it's done, once we get a few of these in here, like a big old slab of meat or a few slabs of meat that the keepers would chuck out into the habitat or put on the end of like a pole, feed the tigers through. And that's the tiger truck done. So now it's on to the habitat itself. So I want this habitat to be really simple. I want the focus to be on this ridiculous arrangement in the middle, and the rest of the habitat, obviously we're going to make it look nice, but it's going to be pretty simple. A lot of foliage, big shelter for the tigers right at the back, so nothing sort of pulling focus from the truck in the middle. So I'm going to get some rocks here, which is how they do it in the Bali night safari, where the tigers are climbing up onto these rocks, jumping on top of the truck, and just generally looking impressive. And then we'll sort out the barriers around the side. I'm going to go mainly with the in-game barriers here, and then do some custom fence posts for them. It just makes it much easier to get the anti-climb barriers in if we use this steel mesh. And then we'll put some doors in where the truck would go in and out of the habitat, separate from the keeper gate, and make sure that doesn't interfere with the path where the guests are going to go. So we'll use the big animal doors for this. It's a really nice piece that I very rarely use. And then we're going to draw in the sort of disturbed ground where the trucks would drive in and out of the habitat. Obviously we want that to be separate from the guest path. That'll be a separate little entrance, presumably it'll be like a paid experience for people. Get some more foliage in, and then rough up the terrain a little bit, make it a bit more interesting, and then put a shelter in. So this shelter is based on an old shelter from Tecton Zoo that I never ended up using because it didn't really fit the style of the habitat that it was originally intended for. So I thought with some modifications and a little tigerish colour scheme, we can spin this round, get this built up, and just put it at the back of the habitat. Like I say, I don't want anything pulling focus from the tiger truck, so this will go right at the back, surrounded by trees, and it just gives the tigers somewhere to go to get away from the guests and sleep, etc. So make some modifications to the fences, just so this sits in nicely, make that a null barrier, and sort out the middle. And then all that remains is to get some more grasses and plants into the habitat. I'm going to use one of these massive kapok, I never know how to pronounce that, trees in there. And then loads of the new buffalo grass, which we will cover the entire habitat with, which I think we'll be doing for most habitats from now on. It just looks so good. And the last thing to do is get a standoff barrier in around the outside of the habitat for the guests who haven't paid to actually go in there, just to make sure that they are safe as well, probably safer than the people in the van. And yeah, that's the build done. I think this might be the final habitat in the Moonlight world for the moment. We have pretty much filled the little space that I set aside for this zoo, and obviously I started this zoo to feature the animals from the Twilight pack, and with the exception of the wombat, we have all of them in here. I really like how this little zoo has turned out. Obviously we'll do a zoo tour soon once it's all finished. I want to leave a few spaces in here so that if we get any more nocturnal animals, I know we've already got a few in the latest pack, then we can always come back here and add them in. I really want a zoo with some space available to be able to put new animals in, since I filled Tecton Zoo. And that is the video. Thank you so much for watching. I will leave you to enjoy the cinematics, and I'll see you again soon. Bye.